for ICT. I thank you. Party leader, Mheshimiwa Ichung'wa, is talking about working conditions and big tech companies. Like I said before, Mr. Speaker, it is the use of regulatory frameworks and legislative work that can help us deal with these big tech issues. And the way they take advantage of, especially African countries, in terms of call drops. I have been a victim of very many call drops by Safaricom itself. And the minute you call them and ask why is this happening, they say it is technology, it is these days, you know, frequencies, all these stories. As Minister for ICT, if I'm confirmed, Mr. Speaker, this will become a thing of the past. We should be able to ask CA to be able to get call logs and determine how much call drops each caller has and what the company needs to do to compensate drop times. On the issue of hate speech and harmful content, again, this is a matter of every country having its own regulations. It is true if you look at TikTok, you look at Facebook and X, you will find all sorts of pornography, actually even available to children. This is a situation where our regulators should be able to engage these providers or the owners of these apps, Facebook, TikTok and others, to know how they can be regulated.
Nominee, it is not about the regulator. If you are approved, you'll be the minister providing policy direction.
Exactly,
That's
Mr.
what
Speaker.
Ichung'wa wants
So
to
my
know.
first directive to CA is to be able to get to know how this can be regulated. And we have technical people who have experience, Mr. Speaker, on how these things can be done. I should be able to sit with them on the first or second day of my term in office to make sure that there is a direct and clear way of dealing with these problems. So, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of exploitation, I have addressed that. Perfect and harmful content, again, it is a matter of great concern how much bad content is available on these platforms, and it is worldwide. We have seen situations where other countries have stopped certain platforms in operating, like for example, the discussion now in the US, where TikTok is supposed to be banned from using the American airspace. I should be able to get to the bottom of these things and see that the Kenyan content is good for consumption for underage and also other users. If I go to, I'm not sure whether I got the third question from...
he asked if you are still chairman of Tujibebe party.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am not a chairman of Jibebe now. The minute I was nominated by the president, I resigned the following day. And I think a copy of that is in the bundle of documents that I have given. From the Honorable Junet, a question I have dealt with all my life since that fateful day when Professor Saitoti, the late, dropped names of MPs as suspected drug dealers. I want to say here on record, Mr. Speaker, I have never, ever dealt with drugs of any kind all my life. Mr. Speaker, this is...
Not even Panadol?
Mr. Speaker, I do not imagine that Junet Mohammed was asking about Panadol. I have some in my pocket if it's just Panadol. But I know he's talking about hard...
We know what he
he's talking about hard drugs, cocaine and the rest. And this is a very disturbing subject, Mr. Speaker. But I invite Kenyans also to have a look at the dossier that Mr. Saitoti brought to the House. It's a dossier such that, Mr. Speaker, if it was given to Inspector Mwala, it would not pass Mr. Mwala's table for a script. If, Mr. Speaker, at that point in time, and records speak here in this House, I fought vigorously the tabling of our names without a leave of the House, because the rules are such that if you are discussing the conduct of an MP, you need to move a substantive motion. But for that particular one, it went through smoothly as planned. But my point here, Mr. Speaker, the government or agencies, the police, did a thorough investigation, and they gave a temporary report a month later, which was tabled and is part of the records of this House, and they found that I was not culpable. I had never been involved in drug trafficking, and I had never been a driver of the Honorable Mao, as that dossier had said. I actually said, Mr. Speaker, on the floor of this House, that there is no need of anyone trying to do extradition proceedings to get me to travel to the US to answer these charges. I offered myself. They gave me a one-way visa, and I'll take myself to any part of the world to answer charges of drugs. It's never happened. So the authors of that dossier probably didn't get exactly what they wanted, but what they got is messing with people's names. And that is the situation it is today. Mr. Speaker, it has continued to happen. People talking about, you will find some of us are named Pablo, all those names. But the truth be told is that I did take some people to court. If you remember, there was a program by Standard called something Mihadarati by Mheshimiwa from Nyali. And I did take them to court. It's taken long, about 8 or 9 years. But finally, I got judgment against them, and I was paid a little bit of money. But circulation is still happening. This is something I am bound to live with for the rest of my life. But I do not do drugs. Thank you. That was a tough one. Yeah?
You've not answered one. He also asked you that when you are governor of Kiambu, you snubbed invitations and summons to attend.
I'm going there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, it was...
the perception of being high-handed.
It is... pardon?
Go on and answer the questions.
Yes.
Yes.
In the beginning, when governors were being called to Senate, there was a general feeling that we should not come to Senate as an independent government. But when it was clear through court decisions that governors would appear, we started appearing, and I want to be on record here, Mr. Speaker. I came to this Senate House to answer questions of senators. For 3 consecutive years, Kiambu had appeared. As a matter of fact, I came to the clerk of that committee, and I said they can ask the chair, I think it was Professor Nyang Yong then, that should any